Pennsylvania's late archery season starts just after Christmas. While visiting family, I was fortunate not only to make it into the woods, hunting the private land I grew up hunting, but also to share these hunts with my dad and my good friend Jeff, who had never been archery hunting before. My dad and I spend the late mornings slowly working our way through a piece of the property. We're still hunting for deer and scouting for fresh sign as we do, so we can find a good spot for the afternoon hunt and the hunt the following day. While approaching an area of thick cover, I think I hear a deer stand up and start to move off. I try to close the distance. After not catching a glimpse of the deer, I retreat back to my dad.
Did you hear that? That like zigzags around, and then where I turn around, it keeps going straight down the property line. I don't know if we should walk down that or down this one. I think they both sort of go to the same spot. But I really thought there was a deer right there when I was standing here. I thought I heard a deer stand up, but I walked right past where I thought it would have been, and there wasn't anything.
As we're having our discussion, I think I hear a deer snort off in the same direction, so I try to close the distance once again. It sure sounds like the Blue Jays are privy to the situation. After giving it about 10 minutes, we decide to continue on.
Ran right down the trail there. The deer. Something running. These are pretty big tracks. It's an adult deer. Look at that one right there. Look how that one's splayed up. Maybe it's getting a drink of water. That'd be nice.
At this point, we start seriously considering that these tracks might belong to the deer that we just spooked.
Geese. There are geese. They saw me. The geese saw me. I feel like if I walk right out there, they're gonna make a bunch of noise. Geese? Yeah. Sure. One of them saw me, so they're swimming out. The ones on this side haven't seen me yet. Just those ones out there. I feel like if I take another step, they're all gonna freak out.
They don't have any babies this time of year, so they might not get too bad.
With the geese gone, I focus my attention and my camera on a blue heron which also takes off. After filming the blue heron, I think the action's over, so I shut the cameras down. I take a few more steps and 2 doe go bounding across the meadow at the far side of the pond. Presumably, we actually were on the trail of a couple deer.
She got him on film.
That evening, I set up on the ground on a different piece of the property, but the only action I have is a close encounter with a squirrel and a distanced encounter with 2 deer bounding across a meadow. The next morning, my friend Jeff and I set up where my dad and I found all those tracks.
December 29th, it's about 7:30 a.m. It's about legal shooting light right about now. I'm with my buddy Jeff. We're set up on the ground, compound bow. We've already had 2 doe cross behind us. They just kept on moving. They didn't spook, they didn't. Jeff's filming, so Bobcat, he started filming. And I realized, I just got a good look at his face, and realized it was a little coyote. So then I said, Coyote, I'm gonna shoot it. And I grabbed my bow. It's a coyote, it's a coyote. I'm gonna shoot it. And it came up, and it was like on the other side of a fallen pine tree. So I didn't have a clear shot, but I got back to full draw, and it stopped at about 15 yards, and then it turned back around and started going away. And I had a little tiny window, and I let one rip at like 25 yards or something. I don't know if I hit it or not. So it ran off in the same direction that the deer went this morning. So I hurried up and got another arrow ready, and I told Jeff it might spook deer down to us. And we were sort of discussing what happened there. Did I hit it or not? And then another coyote went crossing back almost in the same spot. So we don't know. We don't know if I hit it. We don't know if it was the same coyote going back or a different one. So we don't know anything until we check the arrow. But we're going to sit tight and hope we get a deer still. Not mess anything up yet. But we definitely had some excitement. We don't know what we got on film.
We sit for another couple hours, but only have one quick encounter with a doe. At the site of the shot, we found half of a bloody broken arrow. We were in high spirits when 10 yards beyond that, we started to follow a heavy blood trail.
All right, so here's me and Jeff tracking this coyote. Got a pretty good blood trail here. It's going through some real thick stuff. Jeff said he doesn't want the dog tags. I want my broadhead back though. I think it's fine. All right, Jeff, take half the forest with you, why don't you? Figuring it out for you. All right, there's good blood up right up past.
We tracked the coyote for 150 yards through thick woody vegetation that was filled with thorns. Acres and acres of forest here had been choked out due to the invasive species Oriental bittersweet. At the end of the blood trail, we found a pile of raw meat and fur that we deduced was vomit from the wounded coyote. Beyond the vomit, we did not find any other blood, and we decided to back out of the thicket under the premise that perhaps the coyote doubled back on its own blood trail, and maybe the coyote we saw minutes after the shot was the wounded coyote. Upon returning to the site of the shot, we found the other half of the broken arrow with my broadhead still intact. With the amount of blood we found tracking this coyote, I am confident that it succumbed to its injuries. I do not take taking the life of another animal lightly, and I have much respect for this coyote that we lost. But just like the invasive Oriental bittersweet vines that are choking out this forest, coyotes can also be quite detrimental to the other wildlife in the area. And by taking this coyote, I've done just a small part to help the conservation of other wildlife.